Welcome.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
You're listening to The Muddy Roofs.
Hey, horn.
This is Muddy Roots.
Hit that like button.
You know what time it is. What time?
Let's take a cup.
So, you may notice that Ryan and Rob aren't with us today. They had some other obligations that they had to attend to. So we have Justice, and you guys may recognize Taylor. He's been here before. Justice, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, I'm Justice.
Right on, right on.
Anything else? That's it?
Oh, nope. That's it.
Gotcha.
Okay, Taylor.
I'm Taylor Berry. Just part of the boys.
That's what you said last time.
Yep.
So, Taylor and Justice are some of the boys, and we actually all coach football here in Southern Utah on different teams. So I coach at Pine.
Coach.
Yeah, sorry. So I coach at Pineview High School. He coaches at Crimson, and he coaches at Dixie.
Shout out Dixie Flyers. Let's go.
Shout out your
Don't do
ass.
that on this podcast,
Yeah, we're
please.
not shouting out nobody. We're not talking about. Just kidding. So, yesterday was our first round of playoffs. Pineview, unfortunately, that was our last round of playoffs. So we are.
Give him the wah, wah, wah.
I give him the windows.
So we're done. So now I'm a cheerleader for these guys. Yeah. Dixie just won last night, first round of playoffs, and Crimson had a bye. So I did want to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about your guys' cultures. So I've seen Monkers. So Monkers is the head coach at Dixie. He's done a great job over there. I noticed a lot of his old assistant coaches are now head coaches in other areas. So it seems like he has a good program over there. And Wayne, he's been the defensive coordinator at Crimson since they started. Got the head coach job. Now he got it last year, so this is his second year. They went to the state championship his first year and ended up losing. But this year they're a good team. So kind of picking your guys' brains a little bit on what you guys see over there culture-wise. We obviously, scheme is important, so we won't talk about that. Mm-hmm. But what do you guys see is the biggest advantage that Monkers brings or that Wayne brings?
So Monkers coached me all through high school. And it's weird because Monkers been in the state of Utah coaching high school football for 30 plus years now. So I always say like he's kind of just an OG in Utah, just in the coaching. It's weird with Monkers because it's culturally he's always looking for leaders. That's always been his big thing, and he always puts it on like the seniors' shoulders to kind of bring the team together. He's not like a big rah guy, and it's kind of cool because I also was coached under Wayne as well, and Coach Andy Stokes over there. So I see both sides because Coach Andy Stokes and Wayne, I'd say not Stokes as much, but more Wayne was more the rah guy, the guy that always kind of hyped everyone up. I remember freshman year because they were my coaches my freshman year at Dixie, and Wayne still does this now, where he always brings us all together, has all the boys over at his house. I remember having like Halo tournaments and Madden tournaments, and I always felt like that's kind of where the brotherhood started, where I felt like Monkers is more laid back, more old school. He's always looking for his dudes, but I've always noticed like the guys that are in his circle are the ones that he always keeps close and kind of, I guess, mentors them. And then it's kind of just like the pyramid. It kind of just goes down the line of like, he mentors his guys, and then those guys kind of bring down like the culture, the brotherhood, kind of puts it on them to kind of be the leaders. And it's not always the coaches to I guess, get things going for them. And I don't know, it's such a different thing, but it's weird how how he's been so successful. Because I remember Monkers has always been kind of quiet. I remember there'd be times I would like ask him a question at practice. I'm like, hey, coach, I was thinking, like, what are your thoughts on this? And he'd kind of just sit there, and I'm like, not say anything. I'm like, did this dude hear me? But I was kind of like intimidated because he's just like that old school, just doesn't really, you know, like the weight room. It's like he had like his plan, but it was more like, I don't know. There wasn't like that. Like nowadays, I feel like it's more about like mobility and speed. Where when I was in high school, it was like 3 rep maxes and like kind of lifting heavy and kind of like just that old school mentality. But like there'd be times I'd ask him a question, he wouldn't say anything. I'd be like, I don't know if this dude heard me. And then like the next day he'd come to me, he's like, hey, I was thinking about what you asked me the other day. And I was like, what the heck, dude? You heard me? And I don't know. And I've always felt like just us as just being a coach with him, under him, and as well as being a player, I always felt he kind of just put it on just the seniors to kind of take over compared to what Wayne would do.
Okay. So what are you seeing Wayne's doing?
Well, I'm glad he went first because I feel like a lot of the same stuff, they all come from the same coaching program. We also have Coach Andy Stokes at Crimson. He's our offensive coordinator, and he's just as amazing as Wayne is on the defensive side. But yeah, Wayne, I've learned so much from that dude, man. I'm so happy that I've had the opportunity to coach under him and learn from him. And yeah, he does a lot of the same stuff when it comes to the culture of our program. He's super inclusive. He's always got something to say at the end of practice, something inspirational to get the boys thinking, to get us coaches thinking. And he, like, as far as like schematically, like he's a genius. Him and Andy are both geniuses, and it's been super fun to watch them work together. Practices are always they're so freaking intense every single day. It's a dog eat dog world out there, man. Like nobody's safe on that field. But yeah, I've learned a ton from Wayne. He's very he pays attention to details, which was the one thing that I've taken home. Everything matters. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you present yourself on and off the field. Everything you do matters in his program, and it really shows. The atmosphere at practice on that team it's not something you find every day, and it starts at the top. It starts with showing up every single day the way he does, and he's just a phenomenal coach. Him and Andy and the rest of our staff, man, there's a lot to learn from there. But yeah, I think they took a lot away from Monkers. And that, listening to Tay, I can tell that they all coached together at one point. There's a lot of similarities there. But yeah, it's been crazy, man. It's been crazy.
No, yeah, and you guys have been having a crazy season. So you guys almost beat Bingham. They're 6A, right? And we're 4A, so we're a lot smaller than them. They have more kids in their school than we do in Southern Utah.
Yeah, it's insane.
And you guys put up a fight against them, barely lost by 3. And then in region play, you've pretty much blown everyone out. Mm-hmm. You guys scored the most points on them. You scored 14. Like, that's how crazy it was, right? But so I'm wondering what the mentality is going into playoffs. We were talking about this a little bit off camera. Our bracket was super weird with playoffs. We've talked about that before. And all our region is in one part of the bracket. So you're going to just play our region teams until the semifinals. Yeah. So what do you think the mentality is going into, this is going to be your first round in the playoffs and then moving forward into the semis and hopefully the finals?
I think the biggest thing is not letting it get to our heads, the boys' heads. It's super hard when you've had such a good season like that to keep a level mind and to keep doing everything you're supposed to every week and not getting complacent. That's the biggest part. Because I feel like once you get complacent, like you can't, once you're in, second round of playoffs for us, like you can't adjust once you're there. Like it's something you have to work on throughout the week, and you got to stay focused, and that's obviously going to be the biggest thing for us. And again, it starts at the top. It starts with the coaches, and I think so far we've done a pretty good job at keeping the boys level-headed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I forgot to mention also. So you guys scored the most points at 14. You guys have also put up 50 on everybody.
Yeah.
So these guys have just been dominant both sides of the ball. Now, Taylor, last year, used to coach at Desert Hills, and they faced off in the state championship, and Desert Hills actually won. So what was your guys' mentality in that game? You knew Crimson's a pretty dominant team. You guys knew you guys were good as well. If I'm not mistaken, they beat you earlier that year in the region, correct?
Yeah. It was we knew going against Crimson it was gonna be a tough game, and we always said between us and Crimson, like we were like skill level, everything was the same. We just said that it just came down to just who made the fewest mistakes, and I always felt like, I mean, it's always tough when you have to play against like people you're close with. I remember going to it, like I was like it's tough. Like when I saw like Wayne, I saw Justice, I saw Bud, Mason Oakey. I mean, it's just like when you see dudes you love, it's like it's bittersweet. But at the same time, it's just like you're going against a tough opponent, and at the end of the day, it's like you have nothing to lose at that point. So you might as well just go all out, but at the same time, just be disciplined.
Yeah. Which in last year, you guys had an all-junior team, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And this year, you graduated 42 seniors?
42 seniors.
Holy shit.
wow.
Oh, you played them for
We played them
senior
on
night.
senior night, dude, and I was like, holy crap, dude, let's get this game started.
Senior night was like 30 minutes long, dude.
We got out there, we're like, oh, they're only on the seas. All right.
That is
10 more minutes, guys.
42.
Stay warm. Stretch, keep stretching.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So Gage had the opportunity to play for Coach Hosner at Pineview. Coach Hosner is a pretty well-known coach here in Southern Utah as well. He's been to the state championship a lot of times. Unfortunately, he hasn't taken it. But what did you feel like the culture was at Pineview when you were playing over at Pineview?
When I was playing, I feel like it's similar to what Taylor mentioned about a brotherhood. We did a lot of on-the-field bonding and off-the-field bonding. I feel like that was really important because it played into a role where if I missed an assignment or if someone else messed up in their coverage or something, it didn't just reflect bad on them. They felt that guilt for letting everyone else down. And I feel like because that our teams were pretty close and that we were playing for everyone else besides ourselves in a sense, it made us do better, and we came together as a collective pretty well.
Off the field bonding is crazy. Kind of getting off of the topic of culture though, what's some of your guys' funny off the field experiences with your team? I've heard some of your pregame locker routines. We're not gonna talk about that here, but do you guys have any
Funny?
either way, funny, serious, whatever?
Memorable.
So I got one. I'll start it off.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, here we go. I'll start it off. So me and my buddies, we were getting in a lot of trouble my sophomore year. We talked about this on one of our other podcasts, YOLOing. We used to call it YOLOing. You guys remember YOLO's? You only live once.
Yeah.
So me and my buddies thought it'd be cool to create a new word, say, hey, let's go YOLOing tonight. And so we'd get in trouble. And it always started off with like the easy stuff, right? Like the doorbell ditching, simple stuff like that. And it would always escalate. And my sophomore year of football, we got kicked off. The entire team got kicked off. I don't know if you guys remember this article. Our entire football team got kicked off for cyberbullying. That was not us. But the team got kicked off for cyberbullying. And so we did a week of community service, no practice, everything like that. Got our coach reinstated our jersey so we all could play, and we lost because we did one practice Friday morning. The next week was like that fall break, how we have where you leave on Wednesday. So me and my buddies, we're going out. We're on the town. And we end up doing some stupid stuff, dude. And we get caught doing stupid stuff and get kicked off the team for my last game of my sophomore year. So I was on practice squad only my sophomore year.
Dude, that sucks.
And you want to super moted, bro? And so one of the interviewers was like my uncle or something. I don't know how we're related, but we were like related. So he interviewed me when the whole team got kicked off. He's like, what is this doing for the program? I was like, I think it's doing great things. We're becoming good young men and all this stuff. Next minute, like a week later, I got kicked off again. They were calling my phone like, hey, we need an interview again. I was like, no, we're not interviewing again, bro.
That's funny.
So I'm the only one with stories like that.
No,
Huh?
I got one. I'm thinking of one, man. Oh, I'm not gonna tell you which camp it was, but we went to a team camp, and we stayed in dorms. We stayed in dorms for a week. Okay, dude. Oh, the craziest stuff would happen. But
Shout out Dirty Birds.
hey, always me, bro. Shut up. No, but one year we go up and we decide that it's a good idea. So we have a team war, and we split off into two teams, and all week long we stole plastic knives from the lunchroom. Dude, we were slicing each other up all freaking week, bro. Like there was blood spilt.
For real? We're just cutting each other up?
Dude, so like I watched an execution happen, bro, on one of my own teammates. We three guys jumped this one dude in a hallway, got him down on his knees, went up behind him, sliced his throat with the plastic knife, bro. There was like a big old gash in his neck right there, dude. It was insane.
Oh my
and this was
goodness.
on the campus, dude. And that happened, and it was a crazy year, whatever. Next year, bro, people bring freaking tasers. Tasers and any other weapon they could steal from their house. It was bad, man.
See, dude, summer camps are legit, bro. Staying in
they were
dorms
so
with your
fun.
teammates for a week
They're
is
so
fun.
fun.
Oh, we were good kids. We didn't do anything like that.
Oh my gosh.
We did some dumb stuff. That's a very PG story. As you can imagine.
I just remember, like, there's so much, like, you're just hanging out with each other all day, so you do stupid shit all the time. I remember one of my buddies was chafing and in his ass.
Oh.
So he was chafing, so one of my other buddies grabbed the chafe spray, and my other buddy bent down and he sprayed it in his ass for him. Dude, It was the funniest thing I ever seen, bro.
We had a thing called, I feel like that's not like we did that bros, but I feel like it was just more like just shenanigans we did in high school. But like we would go to like the Megaplex, like the theaters, and we'd go that they would throw away like all their used popcorn, like that they didn't use, and they toss it in these huge garbage bags. And we had this thing called snack timing, and we would drive down the boulevard with like 8 big bags of popcorn. We'd cut a slit in it. You just see someone walking. We just throw it. We'd be like, snack time, bitch. You just see a big old explosion of popcorn.
You guys had a tagline.
So like sometimes
That's
you would just randomly drive down the boulevard. You see all this popcorn just on the sidewalk. You're like, oh, dude, someone was snack timing, dude.
You guys are messed up. dude.
Yo, terrible people.
I was chill though. It was funny.
that
it was
is-
just creative. I didn't even think of that. So I was like, dude, let's go steal some popcorn from the dumpsters. Let's go throw it at people.
Let's go ruin people's day. Nice.
We used to do stuff, we called it bread balling. We talked about that on another episode. But we'd make balls out of bread and throw it at cars as they're driving by. People get so mad because it doesn't break anything, but it makes that like noise. And then you get people chasing you. It was always fun.
We all know of our one friend that threw pee at an old lady. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
bro. You
No,
probably
you
know the
go
story.
it. You know it
Alright.
better than I do.
Okay, so we have a buddy. It was in high school, and him and his buddies were driving down this road, and there was a bus stop. And they knew of this bus stop. Like, people were always waiting at this bus stop. So they decided to fill up some, I don't know, what were they, bottles or cups?
Yeah,
They were bottles or
like
cups or
the
something.
Maverick cups is what the way I understand
Okay.
it.
Yeah, of their pee, okay? And my buddy, they're driving down this road, and my buddy grabs a cup, leans out the window, and chucks it at, I think it was a dude or something that was standing at this bus stop. Misses the dude, hits an old lady in a wheelchair. Bro. So messed up, bro.
Oh,
Terrible person. Terrible person.
I'm not laughing at that.
You know,
oh no.
He's a terrible human being.
he's not, I said he's our buddy. He's not really our buddy. He's just an acquaintance.
He watches this podcast. He'll hear me say that.
Dude, I freaking almost died one time, man. Oh. So we went to, me and a couple buddies went up to a cabin, and me and my friend are sharing a room together, and it's upstairs. And we're unpacking our stuff, and my buddy goes, Justice, look at this, dude. I look over, he has a freaking pistol. I'm like, oh, and we're in high school. We're like juniors, I think. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like already in my head, I'm like, this is not going to turn out good. And he's like, check this out, dude. He brings it out and he's like showing me and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And he's like pointing it around the room and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I was like, stop pointing that around. Like that could be loaded. And he's like, it's not loaded, Justice. Relax. And I was like, dude, no, like for real. Like I don't play like that. Cause like I've never experienced guns or anything before. And I was like, dude, like stop playing around. And he's like, dude, it's not loaded. Points it out an open window, shoots it, and it goes off, bro. I'm like,
What an
can you
idiot!
imagine if he was just like playing around with me? He's like, look, watch. It's not loaded, I promise.
Wait, so what happened?
Nothing. So our parents are actually downstairs, and he shoots it, and we're like, we look at each other like, oh, and we go out to the balcony, and all our parents are outside, and like, what the heck was that? And I was like, oh, I won't say his name. I was like, he brought a firecracker. That's all. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, dude,
That's a crazy firecracker.
I was thinking about it the whole trip, bro. I was like, dude, I could have
That's
died.
nuts.
I just remember the team bonding stuff. We would do ping pong at one of my buddy's house. And when you know what do you call it, around the world or something like that?
Yeah.
Where you hit it and you have to run to the other side. And so everyone's just playing. We used to do stuff like that. Those were always fun. We did team meals. Do you guys do team meals?
Yes.
So every Thursday we do the team meals.
Like with like before like walkthrough or after walkthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did 2:45 walkthrough, and then we would go right into our team dinner.
Yeah, we did it wasn't for football, but we did like a team sleepover in the school. So we had have you guys ever been into maybe you, but the boys' locker room for the basketball locker room?
Yeah, is it the same as the football one or no?
No, it's connected though.
Okay.
But there's a code and stuff, and like we would set up games, and we'd just spend the night there. And that was pretty dope.
pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was cool.
Bro, that's the difference between a high school locker room and a college locker room. Have you guys seen like Oregon's and Alabama's? Those guys don't have lounge couches in there, Xboxes.
It's insane.
It's crazy. The team just literally can live in there if they wanted.
Even Utah Techs, dude.
I know.
Is it really?
It's nice,
Yeah.
bro.
They got like
It's really
like
nice.
I think their lockers it like folds out to like a bed.
Yeah.
What?
They can
What?
like
didn't know that.
take like naps. Or maybe I'm thinking of BYU. But like all these locker rooms are making I saw like at Weber State, their locker room like little chair can fold out so they can be like a bed. And sometimes they'll have like things that will close down so it's dark.
What?
Bro, these locker rooms are like transformers.
That's crazy. SGU's
I
locker
know.
room, wasn't it?
Remember ours, dude?
Yeah, ours was doo-doo, bro. Oh, there's barely enough to get changed
I
in
was
there.
happy I had a name tag.
Oh, dude. So this year the finals are played at Utah, right? The semifinals and finals.
At the U, yeah.
That'd be nice.
That'll be nice. You want to play up there?
No, it was cool playing at Utah Tech last year, but like it's always been at Utah.
Yeah.
So when it's not at Utah, it was just like dang, like whenever I remember like beginning of the season, they're like, we're trying to get the Rice Eccles. I'm trying to get
Right,
Rice Eccles.
right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're just like, we're trying to get the Zion. We're
trying to get the Utah Tech.
like, what's their field called? I don't
This
know.
is where I disagree with you. 'Cause I don't know if you were here, but I was telling Bill, like, if I was playing, I would rather have a jam-packed stadium like last year.
No, it was I agree. It was
Like,
it was
that
cool.
was unreal, dude. That
It was
atmosphere
cool.
you can't beat.
Yeah, we showed up. I went to that game. I showed up an hour early. It was already packed. I mean, there was another game before, but when the other game before you got done, no one stood up. Everyone was staying. It was crazy.
it was cool.
I feel
It
like
was
I'm
cool
the
to see
only one
people
that
stay.
feels that way, though. That, like, I'd
No,
rather...
no, it was cool. No, I agree, but I think it's just like because you like when you were in high school, like you guys went to Rice Eccles,
Right,
but at the same time, it is weird because you look around, and you're just like, oh, there's just that little
Yeah.
section. There's just that section.
Yeah. It
That
is
is
cool.
true.
It is cool. For somebody that'll probably never, ever experience that ever in their lives again, like, that's a really cool experience.
To play at Rice Eccles,
Yeah.
is what you're saying? Oh, yeah. It gives these high school kids, like, Something to look forward to.
We can go there one day with your kids and be like, yeah, I played here on the field.
You played ball. You talking?
No, I played it in high school.
High school. Just
I was the water
boy.
boy. Strength and conditioning coaches. You have a strength and conditioning coach at your school?
We did. He left last year.
Oh. Does Dixie have one? I know Desert Hills did.
No, not like an official. It's just one of the coaches.
Yeah.
I know at Desert Hills we had Coach B. He was our strength and conditioning coach, and my dad hired him specifically. Well, obviously to be a coach, but to be our strength and conditioning coach.
Coach B, the one that went to
No, not from
okay.
Pineview. This dude, he went to. He's from Oregon, I think, but he played at BYU. He was a tight end at BYU. And I think he got his degree in exercise science, and so like that's what he did. And it's so different nowadays. Like guys that are strength and conditioning coaches, I feel like everything's changed, and for him to be kind of like a younger dude to come in, and same with your guys' guy.
Yeah,
like he was a stud too.
Dude, I
like,
love that guy.
And they kind of and it was cool because those two like to share information with each other. Kind of like, hey, what do you do with this? Or like I always caught them talking to each other and giving each other different ideas or different stuff. And so it was more just nowadays just like keeping kids healthy. And so that's
You guys have one?
No.
Why you gonna ask the question,
I had to think about it. Nope, we don't.
I think they're super important, though. I'm not-
big
I
time.
do too.
Big time.
Well, so before we had Daniel on our podcast, you guys know Daniel. We were talking about business and that aspect of things, and we were actually talking about the preparation that it takes to become successful. When we even brought in football and stuff like that, and I believe a strength and conditioning coach is what it takes to be prepared for the season.
Oh, it's crucial.
I feel like I know Crimson and Desert Hills doesn't seem like they have a whole lot of injuries right now. It seems like you guys have a pretty good off-season program. We haven't played you guys in forever, so I don't know how your guys' team is doing. But
Dixie?
yeah,
one of our receiver got hurt last against Crimson.
oh,
Yeah, he's probably our only injured guy right now.
see, but I think if you prepare during the off-season, you minimize those injuries.
Big time.
And I don't want to speak for Cedar because they're actually the team who beat us out. They got a good team, good program, but they have like 7 guys out. It's crazy. So out of all the linebackers that we played against the first time we played them, 3 of them are out.
Whew.
Oh yeah. It's not.
That sucks,
You'll
dude.
watch film and you'll see it, but it's just like if
Yeah, because you guys played them.
yeah, they play them this
Good
week.
intel, man. That sucks, though.
That's good intel, man.
No, yeah, I don't think strength and conditioning coaches are only useful for like injuries either. I think like if you have them like the whole year round, like it's so nice to have, like, because they do like nutrition, workout plans, everything like that. Like,
Yes.
I think that's you can't beat that. I think every team needs a coach.
Well,
like
big
that.
time.
What's the strength and conditioning coach at Georgia right now? Do you guys know his name?
No.
So he was at Alabama before, and then went to Georgia, and now Georgia is starting to like pick up momentum.
Yeah.
So there's like some videos and stuff that I've watched that they're like, this dude is the reason Alabama was good. This dude's the reason Georgia's good. And I actually like, you can roll with that a little bit because you got to prepare your athletes, like you said, nutrition wise, physically wise. Because I remember when we were at SUU, we would do weekly or daily weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Daily weigh-ins. He would help you out with your like nutrition a little bit and set goals, and he would like hold you accountable. I went from 163 first day of weigh-ins to by the time I only played a year, and I gained 35 pounds.
Yeah, I played for one season, and in the span of 6 months, I got there at barely 270, left there at 320.
Yeah, they're bulking us up, bro. So in college, I just remember they just kept telling me to gain weight until I started to slow down. And so as soon as I started to slow down, they said, okay, that's enough weight there, fat boy. Let's take a cut though, okay? So Justice brought up a good question before we started about the reason why you coach. Why do you guys coach? Let's start with Tay. Let's go left to right.
So, fortunately, my dad's always been a coach. He coached at Rick's College for about 7 years, and then he coached at what brought us to St. George's when Dixie State became a university, coming from the junior college level. He came down with the first coaching staff, and that's what brought us down to St. George. And so I've always been around football, coaching. I remember like being younger and going to like the conditioning, or being that little kid that was like chilling, watching like while the coaches are doing film. So I've always been around it. I guess what kind of got me back into coaching, I mean, obviously like my dad coached me through high school. He was still coaching high school, and I decided to start coaching again, or start coaching. And I think more it's just giving back to the community. I think that's always been kind of like the biggest thing. I think also like something I always think about, because I remember being in Little League, like 4th grade. I lost every single game, and nothing against like dads that want to help out and volunteer and coach. Like it's a lot of work. Like it takes up a lot of time. But I remember like my dad was pissed. He's just like, I don't know how you guys lose every game. And he's like, I'm taking over your guys' team next year. So he took over my 5th grade team. We won every game, went to the championship, like same team. And so in my mind, I was always thinking, I'm like, I don't want to be that. I know eventually, like when our kids become, get to that level, when they start playing football, whether it's 7-on-7 or just tackle football, I've always been like, I don't want to be like that scrub dad that doesn't know anything about football, or just been like, I played high school football, but I think I can coach. I think that's also one of my biggest things. Like, I want to be able to like be prepared, or at least have like the credentials of like, I've been coaching for a while. I feel confident I can coach some Little League kids. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's more just like, I guess more being prepared. I hope my son wants to play football. I hope all our kids want to play football, and like we can, maybe one day we're all coaches together and we can all yell at each other and then go mix right after practice or a game or something. But I mean, that's been kind of my big thing of, I guess like my main reason was just giving back, and then as well as just, I know one day I'm gonna probably be coaching like my kids.
You want to coach Little League then?
It's hard because I think there is also that balance of like, I don't want to be there the whole time coaching Nakai.
Let him develop on his own.
Let him develop on his own with someone else, to like, not me. Like, let someone else coach him, get in his face, tell him you're doing something wrong, and then I'm just like, yeah, dude, figure it out, deal with it. Like, I can't be there to be like that security blanket, because I know this year is my first year coaching high school football without my dad being there. And I've always said, I think this year I've grown the most as a coach, because I always felt like even my dad, coaching with my dad, I felt like there was still like a security blanket of like, if I did something wrong, I always knew my dad would be there to help me like learn from it or fix it or give me advice. And this year it's been more like I just have to figure it out or turn to someone else, and not always my dad. So, but yeah, it's been kind of my big thing of behind coaching.
What about you, Justice? Why are you coaching?
A lot of the same stuff, man. First and foremost, I will say that probably the biggest reason is because I know one day I have 5 boys. I know,
which is crazy. 5 under 5.
The odds of me coaching one day, or wanting to be in a position to give my sons the best shot at the sport, it's pretty high. And I hope and pray to God they want to play football. But if they do, I want to be like well equipped to help them in the best way that I can. And the other thing is giving back to the community. And I know that there are a lot of coaches in my life that have like influenced who I am today. And like one of them being my dad. Like, he was there from the very beginning. Not only like was he a great coach, and like I won't even say he knew everything there is to know about football. Like he did his best when it came to like drawing up plays and whatnot. But like the impact that he left myself and like so many other kids is something that like I would like to do like one day, hopefully. And I just want to leave that same impact with the kids that I'm coaching today, and hopefully give them something that will help them in their lives. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I will shout out your dad a little bit. He has such an influence on the younger generations here.
Big time.
It's crazy. So, we were talking off camera about one of our guys. He does fiber optics, and his boss actually he's running a school for like troubled men, like 18 to 21. And he actually reached out to your dad, and your dad called all of his people, and he got like 30, 40 people just rounded up in a matter of a day. Your dad, he's well connected with the younger generations, and I know he's well respected.
Big time.
So that's pretty cool. My reason for coaching is very similar. Want to be able to put my son in a good position. My dad, he's kind of like yours. He knew enough, but there's a lot I didn't learn. So learning these kind of things is going to help me to develop my son as long as he wants to play to the best athlete that he can be, whether it's helping him physically, nutrition, just whatever, just be a well-rounded dad. Because some dads are only good at, X, Y, Z. And so coaching has allowed me to help be a better dad, even mentally, dude. Because coaching some of these high school kids is rough. Because some of these kids aren't raised in an environment where they get taught mental toughness. And so then when it's late in a game and you're down by 1 touchdown or even down by 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, and they're like, well, I guess we're done. It's tough to teach that to these kids, but I know if I can do it and learn that skill, it's easier to teach to my own. And then also, like you guys are saying, giving back to the community. High school coaches, I still have all their numbers saved in my phone. I'll still reach out. This is my first year coaching, so I even reached out to all my high school coaches, said, hey, bro, like what works, what doesn't work? Did you enjoy coaching? And they all still text me back. So having those relationships, it's awesome. I know that I hopefully can have that impact on some of these young men. And, that's exactly why I coach. So I feel like we're all right there on along the same page. Would you ever coach, Gage, or what?
No.
Wow.
No.
Rude.
Dude, maybe kids would change that.
Huh?
Maybe having kids would change that.
Yeah, maybe. Dude, that's so much commitment and so much time.
It is, dude.
Off, like not just the games and practices, but the film, the preparation, and I mean, I told Vil earlier while we were just waiting for Taylor to finally show up.
He was late by like an hour, but it's okay.
All right. That's good.
But, I told him, I was like, I think it's really dope that you coach. One, you're not from here. 2, you don't really have like an emotional tie to the school or to any players really. And that would be hard for me. I don't think that I could, and probably a good idea that I don't, because I don't think I can care for these kids like that. I mean, I just don't see it. And maybe having a kid myself will change my perspective and put me in a position to be like, okay, well, like if I do want to coach my kid, or if I do want to see my kid do certain things and like be able to teach him, I could care for other kids in a sense, but I don't think so.
I will say, like, you do get a lot out of it too, like for yourself. And maybe if you did have kids one day, like you would realize too that like there's these kids, like Bill said, there's these kids that we coach that, weren't raised the same, and we've been through the grind, like we've played football and we've been through like, we need that mental toughness aspect, and we have the ingredients for it. And I feel like having that to teach to these kids like is huge for not only them but for myself. Like it gives me a satisfaction, like knowing that I have something that they don't, and they, I have something to offer them. And it's like, I don't know, if I think of it like, if the kids that I'm coaching, if they were my kids, like I would want somebody like in a position that didn't know what I knew to be teaching them the skills they need to succeed in that sport. But yeah, I love it.
Well, I remember seeing there was something on social media, just they were interviewing some coach. I want to say he was from Arizona, but he was. I think one thing that I took from it that I felt was relatable. He was giving some statistics of like high school athletes. I think they said in America, I think like maybe 4% or maybe it was a little bit higher, that go to the collegiate level. But the one thing he said is, but 100% of them are going to be adults. And the one thing he's always talking about is just like, like teaching these kids, you know, just mental toughness, discipline, being coachable. Because like, I know did you ever work in like residential treatment?
Yeah, DRA.
Yeah. So like you guys like understand, and Vil does too, because he's worked with like adolescent teens, like transporting kids, and he kind of sees like the type of kids that we've worked with. But there's just so many kids in this generation that lack that mental toughness, the discipline, being coachable, being told no, or I guess just having adversity, and not being able to push through it. And I feel like that's one of the biggest struggles just in America right now, is just there's so many kids that just give up so easily. Yeah. And so I think that's one of like the big aspects is just not only does sports give that challenge to them or teaches them those types of things, it is nice to know that we were a part of that to help them kind of learn those skills. So.
Well, and so you guys know Tommy. I'm pretty sure I've said his name on the podcast, but he's like...
Thomas the Dank Engine.
Yeah, the Dank Engine. He's like my 18-year-old son is what I call him. It's my wife's little cousin. He had a bad living situation, so he moved in with us about 1.5 years ago. But, you know, he doesn't play sports and he doesn't do these things, and so I've had to teach him this mental toughness that I learned through sports, through other means, and... We were working one day, and one of the things I had him do was renovate some barns that I had, or some sheds that I had set up on my property. He was in charge of taking it all down. So he's working 50 hours a week out there just grinding, you know. And talking to him now, so it's done. He got it all leveled out. It looks good. And I was talking to him, and I was like, hey, so how's this or whatever? And he was like, dude, after doing the sheds, I've learned that I can do anything that I set my mind to. And I thought that was cool because I was like, I forget, like, I just know that, right? We played sports. You know that if you go to the workout, it's going to suck, but you know you'll make it through. You know that the season's going to be tough, but if you just go, you'll make it through. So to see, like you're saying, a lot of these adolescents don't understand that. And so when I pushed him to his limits and he did great. I mean, it took him like a month to get it all down. And he looks at me, he's like, I can do anything I want. I'm like, that's the point. Right. I think that's the point of coaching is to get these boys at the end of it be like, I can do whatever I want. I can work through whatever. Yes, it might be hard. Yes, it'll be a grind. But I know if I stay consistent, I stay with it, I can do whatever I set my mind to.
You both kind of touched on something. You said dealing with adolescents and the younger generation, that kids need a little bit more of a push to overcome adversity. You talked a little bit about mental toughness and the way that it's lacking and how you're trying to implement that in Tommy's life. Why do you guys think that? Why do you think that this younger generation doesn't have that mental toughness in a sense?
Parents.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it all starts at home, man.
In the
I think
house,
100%
for sure.
starts at home. And I think it's even more tough when you come from, like, you know, a place like where we live. So many kids here are so blessed beyond like what they can even comprehend. They don't even realize like what they have, and they're just used to like every day, like, you know, silver spoon and like even the kids that don't have it that good compared to like I just got back from the Dominican Republic and seeing how those kids are living out there compared to how, you know, like the worst situations here is insane. And it's like I think a lot of these kids and parents don't realize like life.
Yeah.
You have to. I think it's necessary for you to succeed, for you to grow. I think you have to suffer at some point. So like even if you do have it all, you have all the money in the world, and I feel like you still need to find a way, like it's your job as a parent to find a way to make your kids suffer in a way, whether it's like you be strict about chores, about grades, about whatever it is. And I just don't think there's enough of that. I don't think there's enough accountability being taught to kids.
Well, I think so. Gentle parenting has been a new right? So olden times it was just you beat the crap out of your kids, which I don't necessarily agree with that. But then gentle parenting came into play, and I feel like people just went too extreme with it. Where gentle parenting means, yeah, you can be gentle and yeah, you can explain things to your kids, but if they mess up, you still have to discipline, whether it's the corner or taking the iPad away or whatever. And so some parents, I believe, do gentle parenting to such an extreme measure that their kids get in trouble, but they're like, oh, I can't do anything because I don't want to hurt their feelings. And it's like, you have to teach them that their feelings are going to get hurt. Right. You have to teach them it's okay to work through hurt feelings. Because one thing I've noticed a lot is crying is becoming like an acceptable thing, which crying is great. I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but if you're going to cry just to cry, I'm like, that's not helping. So a gentle parent is not just letting your kid cry and hug them until they're done crying. It's hug them when they start crying and then say, okay, 3 seconds later, sit them down. Let's work through this. Let's get through it. Because crying does you no good if you're going to cry for 3 minutes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my wife is all for like letting our kids cry, and I have a tough time with it because that's not how I was raised.
No, yeah.
And I'm not a big crier myself, but like I've come around to the idea like, okay, it's okay to cry. It's, you know, in certain situations, but whenever they start to use that as a crutch, that's when it starts to
get dangerous almost.
You're saying like if they cry, like if you discipline them and then they're crying, or like they're crying because they're not getting their way?
They're not getting their way.
Oh. I'm trying to think. Well, I just had an experience like today. I told Nakai, I was like, hey, we're leaving. You need to dry off. Took off his floaty. He was dry, and I was talking to his uncle, and just all of a sudden he just runs and just jumps in the water without his life jacket on. And I was like I lost it. I just saw red.
Yeah, dude, I would too.
And I was more because I was concerned that he didn't have his life jacket on, but I just grabbed him, pulled him out, said some few words out loud in public.
We exchanged some words.
Yeah. And I kind of just like put him back on the chair, and I'm like, sit there and don't move. And he was crying, and like one of the ladies I was with, like my sister and her husband's family was with us. She's like, oh, he's just young, he's just trying to have fun. And in my mind, I'm kind of like, it's already these parents. Like I didn't know her, so I didn't say anything. I was just like, oh, he knows better. Like that's what I said. Like, cause he was kind of crying. Like I think he was crying cause I got mad at him, not because like I told him no, I guess. But just to see that like other parents kind of like, oh, like he's just trying to have fun. Like he's a kid. It's water. You gotta understand. And in my mind, like I get that, but at the same time, I'm just like.
But when does that stop? Right. You know what I'm saying? Because some people will be like, oh, they're just a kid. I'm like, okay, they're 8 years old. And then they're 10 and they're like, they're still learning. And then all of a sudden they're 15 and they're like, okay, but they're really not mature yet. And then they're 18 and they're like, they're not ready to be an adult. And I'm like, okay, so where is the line?
Where's the line? Because I was like, I did that. Because I had to think, I was like, I remember doing stuff like that. Because I had to laugh. I was like, all right, like, I was mad, but I looked at my brother and I was like, dude, like that was me. But like, I got my ass kicked after like that, like in public.
I think people just need to shut the hell up.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
Let people parent their own kids, man. I hate that so much.
Yeah. Unless it's like abuse, I agree.
Yeah.
Like if you see a dad just beating this kid and he's all bruised up, then yes, say something. But yeah, when you get mad and say, sit your ass on the freaking chair and don't move, and parents are like, that was really harsh. It's like, okay, what is his boss going to say when he does something at work and he doesn't perform well and his boss says, get the hell out of our company? That sucks worse than this.
So how do you feel about spanking your kids?
So I've said this on the podcast. I don't do it a lot. I do it only to my son, though.
Okay.
Which you have all boys, and I guess you have all boys too. But girls perceive it in a different light. They're way more emotional than just factual, statistically speaking. And I'm not saying every boy is the same, every girl's the same. But my son, for example, he knows that if I spank him or I flick his ear, he's like, oh, I got this because I didn't wipe my ass. I don't know, whatever. And but if my no. But if my daughter, I do something, she's just like, oh, my dad doesn't love me, and I'm like, no, that's not the message I'm trying to get across. So with hitting, I'm okay with their son. I'm very minimal though. Like I'll open hand spank my son. I'll flick his ear. I jokingly will say, hey, do I need to fix your ear if he's not listening? And if he continues not to listen, I go and fix it real quick. But that's the extent of it. We all got beat, and I'm not to that extent. Like I'm not hitting my kids with, weapons. So.
I am for, like, I will never be against spanking, because I feel like it's a huge, like my sons will know if they screw up, they're going to get it. They're going to get the belt, whatever it is. Like, I'm obviously not going to take it as far as some parents, have in our past. but
flashback.
One thing that I will always make sure is that, like, no matter what I do to discipline them, spank them, like, they're going to know that I love them.
Yes.
And I'm always going to show them 10 times more love than I do, like, anything else. So, like, when they screw up, like he said, they're going to know that they screwed up.
Yes.
And, like, why they screwed up. And we're going to talk about it. Because I think that's a lot of it is, like, it's not the spanking that's the issue, which a lot of people have an issue with. It's the communication.
Yes. It's back in the day, you get beat and then you don't hear from them, or like you just think you're in trouble forever.
Right. Yeah.
Versus a hands-on dad who's, he might spank you, but at the end of it, he'll tell you he loves you, and then wrestling with your kids or engaging with your kids in a fun way. They forget about the beating as far as like, oh, my dad hates me. It's more of a, well, I messed up, moving on type deal.
No, reassurance is key. No, and that like, I know right after, like, give Kai a hug. It's like, I love you. That was dangerous. And he's just like, yeah, give me Uma. Move on.
Easy. Some people make it so hard. Some people are literally like, oh, my kids are just a bad kid. I can't. I'm like, tell them to stop. Yeah. Just try it. Just try one time. We pray and we stretch together. They hop in the shower, they get ready for school, and then we go to school. And then at nighttime, just before bed, they put all their dishes away, they clean the living room, they say prayers and stretch again, and we read a book, and then they go to bed. That sounds so intense. And the first few days, it was tough to get the kids engaged. They're like, hey, nighttime routine. They're like, oh, I don't want to do it. But you push them and you push them. We're a week and a half into this, and now they just know exactly what to do, and they just get it done.
That's nice.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cleaning the house for kids, some people are like, oh, they can't clean. They're only 4. I'm like, bro, my kids start cleaning at 3 because I instill this, we clean. Mm-hmm. And it's just funny to me that some parents make it so hard when I'm like, dude, kids are you can manipulate them so easy, which is dangerous, and I get that. But if you're manipulating them in a positive way, it's not that hard. What do you think, Gage? You have no kids?
No kids. I'm taking notes over here.
But it's kind of, I don't know, dogs, they're not the exact same. We've talked about that before, but like training your dogs isn't necessarily easy, but as long as you stay consistent with it, they seem to pick up, right?
Yeah. I mean, consistency is key. I mean, with dogs, yes. Children, same thing. Consistency is key. And then just kind of having those lines. So, like, if I open up my front door, my dog knows not to go, because when he runs out, I shock him, or you know what I mean? Like, there's consequences to action. So now, if I open the door, he won't do that. But that's because there's lines you can't cross. Yeah. So
you asked the question, I don't think you answered. What do you think is the issue with like today's kids not? What was it?
Being like undisciplined,
like
and
being held accountable, or being
lacking mental toughness.
Lacking mental toughness. I like what you said. I'll touch on that. So you were talking about how you wanted, or you think that parents should make their kids suffer. Suffer is kind of a crazy word, but I got what you meant.
Yes.
Because in a sense, there's a saying: if you've never been knocked down, you never know what getting up feels like.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I think another thing is just how much freedom the younger generation has to idolize who they want. So they see a lot of these influencers and a lot of these famous people who they idolize, Mr. Beast, like who are just showing the great times in life to where they're just like, that's how life is. Life is awesome. Life is amazing every second of every day, and it's not. And I feel like when kids idolize that, or the younger generations do idolize that it creates this false idea in their head that they have an easy life, or they expect easy things. And I think that's where a lot of things stem from too. Regardless of parenting, like you can do a lot of the right parenting things at home, but if your kids don't idolize you as a parent or admire you as an adult, that they'll find that somewhere. And I think that's where a lot of things kind of get a little wavy.
Which that's a good point too, is idolize. Like you got to get your kids to like idolize you. It's actually pretty crazy, and you guys probably experience the same thing. But my son like literally loves me. Like he thinks I'm like the coolest thing in the world, which is very humbling and very like almost stressful a little bit to like, no, you have to perform every day. Your son is watching you every single day. And so like he'll be saying his prayers and literally be like, I'm so thankful I get to hang out with dad and go to practice. And I'm like, he's gonna remember this forever. So that's also part of your job as a dad, is to perform, be a dad, like be a guy your son can look up to. I was listening to a guy who was talking, and he's like, honestly, the worst thing you can do for your kids right now is not do what you're saying. So if you're telling your kids, hey, go for your dreams, whatever you can do it. And they look at you and say, well, why aren't you? It's like, well,
I think about that a lot.
It's like, well, you can't preach something and then not do it. So mom says, hey, you can do whatever you want. Well, mom, why aren't you? Dad, well, you can be as happy as you want. Well, dad, why aren't you happy? You know what I'm saying? So part of that is also living your expectations. Whatever I preach to the kids, I have to live myself. If I say, hey, wake up every morning with a smile on your face, I have to do that. And so I think that's a big part too. Kind of like you're saying, kids are only going to idolize their parents if their parents are worthy of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's take a cut.
Let's do it.
take a cut. Have you guys, this is kind of on the same line, but a little bit off. My family and I, we do like mission statements, core values. Have you guys ever thought about doing that with your family?
No. Not yet.
Because companies will do that, right? I haven't done it with my kids. Me and my wife have done it, like traits that we want our kids to have, and like creating the end goal, and then you map out how we're going to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that's a good exercise if you want to get your kids to a certain place. I think it's good to think about where you want them to be and then map out the road ahead.
Give them, or make them set their own goal, and then also make them set their own path.
Yeah.
I like that.
So the crazy thing is, though, is Tommy, the guy we were just talking about, he set his own goals at the beginning of the year for this year. And two of the big ones were getting a driver's license and graduating high school. And he did both of them. And he has a sense of pride that he does that. And it's crazy because, like, I thought, perfect, he did it, he's going to move on. But now he mows the grass better. He edges the lawn better. He takes pride in who he is and what he's doing, pride in his work, because he knows he can do hard things. I don't know what the correlation is, but he's like, I can see myself doing these things. Now that when I'm doing other things, I'm just going to do them better. I don't know, but it's like it carries over into more aspects than just your little goals that you have set.
Yeah, I think it goes into what we mentioned last episode with Daniel about it being contagious.
Yeah,
like it's contagious to yourself in different aspects of life. I know this girl who, and I'm not going to say her name, but I know this girl who kind of struggles with her mental health and like depression and anxiety, but like she doesn't work. She doesn't have anything that she's like working towards in a sense. Like there's goals and stuff that she has to set, but like that just makes you feel a sense of pride, like you mentioned, or like the like self-worth, and it can increase that and boost that up real easy.
And I think it's tough if you don't have a confident like personality, or your self-worth is very low. It's hard to function. All right.